Welcome, welcome everyone. My name is Uduak. I'm so delighted to see everyone here today. You have no idea. And we'll get started by going from left to right and having each person introduce themselves and specifically tell us how they got into their career paths into fashion law.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Marissa, and from DC. After I got out of Howard Law School, which was, I won't even say, a while ago, I clerked for a judge in trial level DC Superior Court. It was a tax and probate specialty, which I didn't want to do, but I kind of went there. I was trying to figure out how could I get into something creative because I was a creative person. I was a singer. And I went to law school thinking I was going to understand my contracts and just be fabulous, but things kind of turned around. And so what ended up happening in D.C., I'm lucky because we have the United States Patent and Trademark Office there. And so I applied at the time. It was, and I guess it still is a very coveted place to work. And so when at the time they were doing like panels of lawyers and everything to get in, but I, make a long story short, ended up in the office assigned to fashion, to apparel and beauty products. And so I started there as a trademark attorney, and then a couple years later, I started my own firm.
Okay, and we'll move on to Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian Shire. I am a co-owner and co-designer of Giordano with my lovely wife who's in the back. We are a independent local fashion line here in San Francisco. We started, about 10 years ago when we first started thinking about doing this, and over the years we've grown from, designing one outfit to sell in a couple consignment stores to now, showrooms in LA, Miami, New York, selling to stores all over the country and winning awards and being in magazines and all that stuff. So over the years, we started because we met in advertising, actually. I come from a graphic design background. I went to art school for that. I met Jill in advertising. She was in media. She wanted to do something creative, so she'd always wanted to go to fashion design school. So as we were dating and she was going through school, we realized, with my creative direction background, I'm always like, oh, no, you got to do this. So, you got to make the eye follow around the form. And we realized that we worked really, really well together. And over, her school, her school career, we just started designing and selling in stores before she had even graduated. So by the time she actually did graduate, we had already gained a name here in the city, and we just, since then, just been growing it. So that's why I'm here. And then, so I met Uduak way back when we were just literally a couple things on a rack selling on a street corner at like in Hayes Valley during one of the, clothing swap things. Yeah, we started that way. So we started really small and got to where we are now. So along the way, I could have used every single one of you. And so hopefully, I'm glad that this is even happening because there's a lot of people out there who are creatives and we don't like to read a lot of words and stuff. So it's nice to be able to rely on people who actually understand and love that aspect of business because in the end, it is business.
Okay. Stacy?
Hi everyone, my name is Stacy Reardon. I am currently a partner and the chair of the Fashion Law Practice Group at Fox Rothschild. We are about 500 people law firm across the country. We have 19 offices, 6 departments, and a gazillion practice groups. So they're a very entrepreneurial firm, and they took a chance on me. They took a chance on this new area of law called fashion law. And I said, I want to be your fashion law person. They said, okay. And I'm like, they're like, write me a business plan. I said, okay, here's my business plan. And they approved it, and it's been going great since I was there. But before I was there, my family has come from apparel. So I'm the 4th generation in my family to be in the apparel industry somehow. So I'm in it, my mother is in it, my grandfather was in it, and my great-grandfather was in it as well. So I was lucky enough to grow up having dinner table talk, what's going on, who's going to ship this order, this contractor is late, someone knocked off my designs. They taught me to sew at age 5, they put me to work in the factory. I was shipping boxes. My mom came up with the printed shoelaces. I'm not sure if any of you are old enough to remember that, but she was the person who started that, and because she was designing ribbon, and she put ribbon in my sneakers. And I was like a squirmy little kid, and I wouldn't sit still, and I'm like, Mom, I wish I had shoelaces. And that was like the a light bulb idea, and she did the printed shoelaces, and we shipped those across the country. So I was in her warehouse, I was shipping boxes, and my whole life. Then she went into retail. I worked in her retail store. She took me with her all over the country and to Paris, buying fabrics and buying products. And I went to college, and I always wanted to be a lawyer. And I was in Atlanta, and I'm like, my plan was to go to school, stay there a couple years, and then go to law school. And my last year in school, my mom calls me up. She's like, Stacy, I'm starting a new company. She's like, I need your help. I'm like the little kid, right? I'm like, Mom, you know I want to be a lawyer. She's like, you can use my fax machine and look for law jobs while you work for me. I'm like, okay. And she's like, and then I'm in LA. And we were in Boston beforehand. So I'm like, all right, twist my arm, make me go to LA. Let's go palm trees, flip-flops, or like cold weather. I'm like, okay, LA. And she had a Missy Garment dye knit company, and we were a precursor to Juicy. So back then, didn't exist, and everything was very structured, very tailored, very uncomfortable. So her line kind of reinvented contemporary women's wear. And then her and her partner had a huge fight, which is very common in the apparel industry. The fight was so bad, they couldn't even figure out who was going to buy whom out. They just shut down the company. And by that time, it was like 3 years in, we were doing just under $20 million. It was her and her partner and then me. And I ran everything from the human resources department to our distribution department to our production department, everything. Everyone's like, well, what did you do? And I'm like, I made sure things got shipped on time, on budget, to the right person, with the right tags hanging off of it, and the right stuff written on the boxes. And once you start working, you're like, ooh, I like this job thing. I have money, I have a car, I was traveling, it was fabulous. And I went from one to another, and sooner or later I was like, I always wanted to be a lawyer. I'm like, well, I love the fashion industry, and I love what I do, so I'm going to see if I can go to law school to become a fashion lawyer. So when I talked to some people, they're like, well, you know, the fashion industry in LA is pretty big, but there's no such thing as a fashion lawyer. And they laughed. And I'm like, don't you laugh at me. In my head. I didn't say this because they were being very nice and giving me their time, you know? So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to create it. They all said I was crazy, but I went to law school. I got out. I started working in a big firm. I got some training. I learned how to be a lawyer. And then about 3 or 4 years into my law career, that's when I launched my first fashion practice group at my first firm, which went bankrupt in 2008. It was one of the 2 big California firms. And that was at Thielen. And then Fox was smart enough to say, come work for us. And so here I am today. I also teach at Loyola Law School. Today was our very first day of class, and it is the first fashion law class outside of New York. And hopefully you guys will have one too.
Great, thank you, Stacy. And just a bit about my background. I was born in San Jose, raised in Nigeria, returned back to the U.S. when I was about 13 years old. And while I was in high school, high school at the time, junior year, I ran into a very interesting, young, handsome guy called Nick, pretty tall. And he would say all the time, you're really pretty, you should model. You're really pretty, you should model. And I would say, oh my God, how corrupt. Such a corrupt industry, no way. Oh, what's my family going to say? You know, all the belief system, and people that share different cultural backgrounds certainly can relate to what I'm talking about. So one day he just got fed up. He showed up and he said, Uduak, I'm taking you to a modeling agency. Get in the car. So he did exactly that, took me to a modeling agency, and it turns out the modeling agency owner was a woman who attended my church. Her name was Tony. Yay. So from there, I got introduced into the modeling industry, and that's how I started to model. I got the opportunity to model here locally, to model in, I also got the opportunity to model in LA, and subsequently I got an opportunity to also model in New York. So at some point, I ventured to Paris to decide whether it was something I wanted to do. But subsequently, I came to the conclusion that I was extremely passionate about law. I was born to do law, and nothing was going to take me away from it. So while my other friends went on and became big fashion models, I just kicked it at Hastings. But it all paid off because now I get to talk fashion law and do fashion law. So who's winning now? Go figure. So that's my background, and now we're going to transition into talking about what is fashion law. Let's start first with Stacy, actually, and then go to Marisa.
Sure. Fashion law is very similar to entertainment and sports law. It's an area of law that focuses on an industry. So that makes it multidisciplinary multidisciplinary, cover multidisciplines. So you can do most people think it's just IP law repackaged with a fun name, and that's not true. When you look at the needs of an apparel company or a fashion brand or a beauty brand or anywhere in between, shoe company, they go through different stages of growth throughout the company. So they're going to need their IP protected, they need their corporate entity formed. Today's day and age, they're going to need retail leasing help. If you read WWD, you see the flurry of M&A activities. So I have someone in my practice group that specializes in fashion M&A, which we think is very unique and very cool. And he only does deals with fashion companies that are purchasing other fashion companies or fashion companies that want to go public, like Michael Kors just did. So there's a lot of different areas, substantive areas of the law, and what makes it a body of work is everything has something to do with the industry somehow. So you need to know how the fashion industry works, what the seasons are, what the cycles are, what the supply chain is like, to really help your clients and make them make the right decisions. You're like a counselor in whatever substantive area you want. So you take substantive plus fashion, and to me, that's what fashion law is.
Okay, Brian, I'll come back to you on the seasons that Stacy pointed or touched on, but let's go to Marisa and have her add to what fashion law is.
I agree pretty much with what Stacy was saying. I guess the only thing I would add is that, so I'm teaching at the community college, like this fashion forecasting, merchandising class, and from what, we've been talking about the last, that fashion really is this conversation between creatives and the consumer, that it is innovation in a variety of fields, that it can be culinary arts, it could be in the automotive industry, like the new design of the inside of the car, it can be just so many different things. And so that what that means is that for fashion lawyers, this wonderful name that we've come up with, really it's just the law. It's providing legal services to a client who is in this industry. And so you can provide just all the type of business needs that you can think of, just like what you're saying, real estate, contracts, intellectual property. Sometimes it's very confusing. But just like with any type of law, we narrow ourselves to specialties. I'm, doing soft IP, trademark, copyright, contracts. And so, I think but it can be very, very broad.